Welcome to Behind the Crafter. I'm your host JD, and we have a guest who has experienced incredible growth in his channel over the last few months. And he's also known for his beard. I'd like to give a big welcome to Mr. Beardstone. Hello, how are you doing?
Howdy, howdy. Very good, thank you. You?
Doing pretty good. Enjoying much warmer than usual weather, which is nice to have, but terrible for the farmers.
Yeah. I'm in England. We don't really do warm weather. We do rain. We do cloudy. That's about it. Maybe a week in summer where it's unbearably hot.
Yeah, when I lived on the west coast of Canada, half the year was just rain. And that's winter.
It's fine. Rain's good. Rain's good. Gives me an excuse to stay indoors and play Minecraft.
Yeah,
I don't feel bad.
definitely.
If the weather was nice, oof, that'd be tougher.
Absolutely. So, let's get into the way back in the beginning. So how did you start as a content creator?
Accidentally, to be perfectly honest. It was a bit of a weird one because I got made redundant basically, and around the same sort of time, I was just casually on YouTube, and you know when you leave it running and it just auto plays video after video after video.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I ended up on a Pixel Rift survival guide episode, and obviously, you know, I haven't been living under a rock. I knew what Minecraft was, but I'd never actually played it, and I just left the videos running. And being a fan of sort of survival games and things like that, I was playing a lot of Sea of Thieves at the time, just games that I was sinking my time into. I ended up picking up Minecraft and just instantly sort of fell in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, that was good, but at the same time, as I say, I got made redundant, so I was spending a lot of time playing Minecraft. But
Yeah.
when I was hunting for work, because I'm a sort of from a web design background primarily, but
Mm-hmm.
every job I was looking at around that time, they also, for some reason, it had a list of all these things they wanted you to have, you know, what you'd expect, sort of being able to use the correct software and so on.
Yeah.
And then they had video editing. Like every job I was looking at, they also wanted someone who could edit videos, and I was like, well, where's that come from? Like last time I was looking for a web design job, there was none of this. So I thought, well, maybe I should just give it a go. And as I say, I just started playing Minecraft. I was, you know, feeling inspired by watching Pixel Riffs, and I thought, why not? Let's just learn to edit. So at least it's something I can add on my CV, and it might help me get a job.
Interesting way to
So
start.
Yeah, it was so it was kind of a necessity thing, really. It was like, you know, I need to learn to edit, but I need something to edit. And because I just started playing Minecraft, it just kind of married together quite well. So
Mm-hmm.
I spent a couple of weeks. I made what is still to this day the very first video on my YouTube channel. It's yeah, it's questionable, but you know that was my first foray into editing basically, and I was really pleased with the results. So I thought, actually, I'm just going to stick that online. You know, I'm going to give this YouTube thing a go. So it was more than anything, it was just a way of me learning to edit.
Yeah.
Um, Surprised that I was actually how well I thought I'd done on my first video, and I just kind of went with it really. And yeah, from the moment I first hit upload and sort of saw that video up there, I think it got like sort of, you know, 10 or 15 views in the first month, and I was over the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of got hooked from there on, really.
Yeah, it's interesting looking back at your first video. Like when I look back at my first video, I think it looks awful, 20 frames per second, and a really bad mic. I was playing on my laptop, which could barely handle Bedrock edition, and yet
Yeah,
I recorded. Yeah, so for
yeah, I think.
go ahead.
Sorry, you go on. No, you go on. You go on.
So for about a year, I was recording on my my laptop. So I had a year's worth of low quality videos, and then I got the gaming PC, and quality went way up.
Yeah, I think with me, my actual PC at the time, because I've always been very heavily into my sort of PC gaming. So my
Hmm.
PC at the time, I thought was quite powerful, but I didn't really have that struggle in regards to getting the frames and so on with the game. The problem I had was my peripherals, specifically my headset mic that I was recording the first few episodes on, and recording the game audio and my voice audio on the same track on OBS, because once again I didn't really know how to set things up.
Hmm.
And yeah, that led to an audio nightmare. I think
Mm.
is probably the only safe way of phrasing it. So yeah, the first 2 or 3 episodes were just the audio was the thing I felt I'd really sort of let myself down on. I was quite pleased with the editing and the storytelling, but yeah, the audio was just absolutely awful. So yeah, I quickly invested in a USB mic. Just got a Blue Yeti,
Hmm.
and that's what I ended up sticking with for a few years. And yeah, that made a huge difference. Getting that and getting that set up correctly,
Yeah.
certainly boosted my confidence. I'd say after those first few videos, but every now and then I do go back just to remind myself how far I've come. It's just like, yep, I don't sound like that anymore. It's great, fantastic.
Did you start on Bedrock or Java?
I started on Minecraft, so that's all I knew.
Hmm.
It was actually Bedrock. I
Yeah.
found out 3 months later when all the farms I was trying to build from Pixel Rift series didn't work.
Uh-huh.
That's when I discovered there was actually a Java version as well. But yeah, I played on Bedrock for probably the first, like exclusively for probably the first 7 or 8 months. And then I started playing Java as well. But it was finding those farms that didn't work that I was trying to build that were Java farms, then obviously led me to search for Bedrock creators. And that's how I ended up sort of finding Silent Whisperer and Groover and, all the people that were sort of showing you how to make awesome farms in Bedrock.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely the way to go. And I just always found Bedrock smoother gameplay wise on my PC
Yeah.
at the time.
Well, it takes fewer resources, so it's also the render distance is incredible.
Yes, yeah. The render distance on Bedrock is always good. But I have always, even to this day, I do find Bedrock runs smoother. Like
Hmm.
you can feel the difference. But it's one of those things where you play Java exclusively for a couple of months, and then when you open Bedrock, you kind of everything feels a little bit floaty because it's so smooth. And then you go back to Java, and you're like, oh, actually, no, Bedrock was smoothness, that wasn't floatiness, and it's a very strange position because I do still play both, like more Java now than Bedrock, but
Yeah.
yeah, you can sort of feel the difference just in how smoothly it plays. Kind of makes it feel a bit like you're walking through butter. Sometimes it's very strange.
Yeah, I've played both. Of course, I started with Bedrock and then moved to Java. I've got a few tutorials that are filmed in both Java and Bedrock, so it's so I can show both sides. But
Okay.
but yeah, these days I play mainly Java, and I think the biggest reason is I really don't like villagers in Bedrock Edition. They're
I don't like villagers in any edition. Oh, they're a nightmare.
they can be, yeah. I just got used to Java Edition.
Yeah. I think like for me as a content creator, as I got more into the content creation world, um, Java has more tools that
Hmm.
aid that, such as replay mod and just as a very clear example. Um, and what I've always found hard with content creation on Bedrock is not having replay
Yes.
mod. But then I spent 2 years playing exclusively Bedrock shortly after all of this, so I kind of got over that very quickly. And now I see replay mod as something like, even though at the moment I'm exclusively playing Java, um, I very rarely use replay mod, even though it's there,
Hmm.
just because I prefer the first person storytelling. I think that works better in the majority of cases. So yeah, it's one of those things. I don't have any love or hatred for either version. They've both got their pros and cons, and I think now, especially as they're actually getting closer together, it's going to be beneficial for the whole community, really, because those farms are becoming more and more transferable between versions, which is nice.
Yeah, except a lot of Redstone doesn't transfer over at all.
Yeah, there's. I mean, I've only ever done basic redstone, so
Yeah.
I've luckily I've not run into a lot of those sort of problems. That I know sort of the people who are heavily into their redstone. They're all like, things work differently. They've got all these weird names for machines like T flip flops and all these sorts of things. I don't even understand what they are or how they work. I don't need to know that. I just like to build things that look pretty. So I think my personal sort of experience with the two is that I don't notice that much difference because I don't do all the clever redstone things that take advantage of Java quirks that I know exist, but I don't understand them, so I don't use them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've never really run into that problem too much myself.
I'm the same. I don't do a lot of Redstone, even though My educational background includes electronics. I've done electronics class in university, and I used to do those things, the flip-flops and gates and whatever. And when I try to do it with Redstone, I think, okay, what is this thing? I have no clue what I'm doing. And I have to look up tutorials all the time.
Oh yeah, no, I live off of tutorials. If it wasn't for tutorials, I wouldn't have any farms. I'd be manually resource gathering everything most likely. I mean, it's only in the last year or so I'm actually starting to understand some of it a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I come from an art and design background, so technological things and like code and all those sorts of things. I did web design and I understood the basics of code, but I couldn't build a website.
Yeah.
At least not a very good one. So yeah, I've always been much more of an art and design person, which is why I've sort of fallen in love, obviously, with the building side of Minecraft. But yeah, starting to adapt a bit more these days. But my heart's always been in the building, really, and just making pretty things, I guess.
Yeah, that's
square blocks.
except when you're using what is it? Frame blocks.
Well, okay, yeah, I'll say square blocks. I have recently started maybe dabbling in less square blocks, but yeah. It's
Yeah.
still square-ish.
Yeah, it is. And back when I first learned about Minecraft, I saw these were all square blocks, and I thought, this is a stupid game. I'm never going to play it. But it's the game I play. Well, I play a couple of games, but this is the main one, and I spend so much time on it.
Yeah, I mean, my very first exposure to Minecraft was actually, I think it was when I brought an Xbox or something, and it came bundled free with it. And it was, you're talking way back sort of 2011, 2012, just after it sort of come out, or just after Microsoft had bought it potentially.
Mm-hmm.
But all I remember is I logged in. I didn't really know what to do because there was no guidance. And then it got dark, so I dug a hole. I heard a zombie outside, and then I logged out. And then, yeah, I purchased the game in 2019, which is when I actually started playing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was all I knew about Minecraft. Was like, oh, that's the game where you stand in a hole and hide from zombies, and that's all I thought it was for the first 7 or 8 years of its life. So
Zombie
yeah.
apocalypse. Yeah, zombie apocalypse game.
Yeah, well, that's what it was. It was all about zombies.
Yeah.
In the early 2010s, wasn't it? So yeah, very much so.
Now, when
How
you
wrong I was.
when you started your channel, of course, you named it Mr Beardstone, right?
I did, yes.
I can probably guess where part of the name comes from. You have a beard.
I do,
Wow.
yes. Yeah, it was basically I got it because it was a slight take on my pre-content creator name, which was a bit less family friendly and more of a teenager on an Xbox kind of name. So it took a little bit from that, and it was available on every platform that I wanted it on. So that's pretty much where I settled. Because I could get it on YouTube and Twitter and Twitch and everywhere else, I thought I might need it. Yeah, that's pretty much what made my decision for me. I had a few other names, which I can't remember what they were now, but I had a few others that I was looking at, but they just weren't available in the same format on every platform, which I thought was going to be important. So yeah, kind of glad I did that.
So you've had an interesting journey as a content creator. I started watching you when you were quite small, or your channel was small, not you personally, but your I don't know how many subscribers you had when I first started watching you, but it was
in the low hundreds, if even,
yeah,
to be honest. Yeah, because I remember because Adults Craft and
yeah,
sort of you guys. I remember watching you guys on Twitch as some of the first people I was watching, because you were playing Bedrock.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that was quite early on, really. That
It was
because I remember your channel was like bigger than mine and quite small at the time as well. I seem to remember. So we just sort of had this small band of creators that were essentially we were tweeting each other, watching each other's videos, hanging out on streams, and
yeah, I remember that.
Trying to find our feet at around the same sort of time.
Yeah, it was. It was an interesting time back then, and I see a lot of the same people still making content. Some people are still quite small, while others have grown quite a lot. And it's just been in the last year that your channel has blown up.
It's been a pretty crazy year, to be honest with you, but I assume we'll get to that shortly.
Yeah. And so back then, I remember you joined Truly Bedrock and then Legacy.
Yes, yeah. So initially, obviously, when I like my first sort of series, I think there was only about 10 episodes in the end. Was a solo series,
Hmm.
and then so that was sort of September 2019 was when I started playing Minecraft. I think my first video was sort of end of October, beginning of November, that sort
Hmm.
of time. Um, and then in January, I was approached by Casey. Now he's now known as Dr. Jankovic, and
Yeah.
I was invited to the Paper Hats SMB,
Right.
and that was when I first sort of dove into Java. But at the same time, I was still very heavily into Bedrock. I was playing both, but I was mainly recording just on Java. Um, and then a few months after that, I got invited to Truly Bedrock, which my mind was blown.
Hmm.
I think I had like 400 subs or something like that at the time. And these were the creators that I'd been watching, Silent Whisperer and Groover and Tiz Tom. These people that I was learning to play the game from
Yeah.
essentially were like, "Oh, do you want to come play with us?" And well, obviously, yeah, I sort of jumped straight in, um, and then yeah, I think I played exclusively Bedrock really for about a year and a half or so.
Hmm.
Um, and then yeah, then I got an invite to Legacy Season 2, where there's a bunch of new people joined. But season 2 of that never really sort of took off. I think we joined. I don't remember now. I think it was maybe sort of halfway through a season,
Mm.
and a lot of people that were there at the start of the season were no longer playing. They had other projects going on. So yeah, so we went on. It was great to meet some new people and to hang out, but I think for me, and I think for a lot of the other people that were actually playing on the server at the time, especially the new people, it was almost as if we'd been handed something else that wasn't ours,
Yeah.
as opposed to um, anything else, because there was only sort of 3 or 4 of the original members still playing, and most of the time, sort of even they weren't on. So yeah, it was very much felt like we were in this world that we shouldn't have been in,
Yeah.
and I think that really kind of made it hard to stay motivated to play on that server. So as much fun as I did have in the sort of couple of months I played there, I don't think it was the correct decision for me to do at the time. Um, I mean, I was thrilled to get the invite. I was really looking forward to play, but it wasn't the right time. I don't think. I think that server, that SMP, had already had its moment by then.
Hmm. Yeah, it was like the biggest rival to Hermitcraft when season 1 came out, because there was a lot of big
Yes.
names on it. And I just remember watching season 2, and everything just started to, well, it's not like it stopped. It just slowed down so much, and a lot of the big names
Yeah.
left. But
Yeah, I think SMPs that can happen quite a lot, because obviously SMPs run for a long time, and over that period of time things can change. People's personal circumstances can change.
hmm.
Sometimes their channel might blow up because of something else, and then it makes sense for them to focus on that more than the SMP, and so on. So I think it's the natural progression quite often with SMPs that are, especially with full-time content creators. They're
Mm.
almost more quick fire, if that makes sense, because
Yeah.
it's less about casual play, and it's more about, are my audience enjoying this? Are they wanting to watch this? Am I enjoying playing on this server? Like, even if my audience love it, if I'm not enjoying it, then I'm not going to play there myself, and vice versa. So it's
Yeah.
it's about, like, as well as anyone, it's a balancing act essentially, to
Absolutely.
deliver what your audience wants and enjoy yourself unquestionably, so that you want to play on there and make the content anyway, which in return makes better content. So it's kind of a cycle, really.
Hmm.
So yeah, tough one with SMPs.
It is. I found, especially with streaming, I play still on Adults Craft, and we're in season 4 now. And the only time that that I do any content for that is live streaming. I don't record anymore. I found that SMP content on my YouTube channel did terribly. And it would get a fraction of the views of everything else. So I just decided this year it's going to be Twitch only. I'm not even going to bother recording anything for it, except for maybe tours. But that's about it.
Yeah, so that's actually quite similar with what happened with me and Truly Bedrock. Because, playing Truly Bedrock has been the best 2 years of my content creation life. It's literally just been playing on that server, meeting those people. It's just constant laughs. It's absolutely amazing to play on.
Mm-hmm.
But that was my sole content for sort of well over, I think, a year, maybe 16 months, maybe. And then I decided, I wanted something else, and that's when I started my solo hardcore world.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where things get difficult, because that first episode I put out, at the time, I think my Truly Bedrock videos, some of my best performing videos were getting like, maybe 2,000 views over the course of a month.
Yeah.
And then they drop off because it's let's play content. That's, how it works. You get views at the start and then they just trail off, and then eventually people aren't watching it because it's a few years out of date. So it's not evergreen content, it's episodic.
Yeah.
And then I started the solo series, and that episode 1 just absolutely blew up for my channel. I think it's sitting now on about 150,000 views, but at the time it got over 100,000 views in the first couple of weeks, and I just didn't know what to do. Like, 'cause I was loving the hardcore world, don't get me wrong. I was obviously going to keep making videos on there, but at the same time, I didn't want to stop playing on Truly Bedrock. But
Yeah.
I was working full time. I was streaming 3 days a week, and I was still trying to do a couple of videos
Mm-hmm.
every week from different servers. So I ran myself ragged for a while, sort of running both those series alongside each other. And eventually, Truly Bedrock episodes became less and less frequent, and then that's when I switched to focusing just streaming Truly Bedrock content, because
Yeah.
I didn't really have the time to make the videos anymore, because I needed to make the hardcore videos, because that's what the audience was responding to.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having a whale of a time doing it, don't get me wrong. But I didn't want to stop playing on Truly Bedrock, so I was just streaming Truly Bedrock. But even then, it got to sort of the following April, and I hit a wall, essentially. I burnt out, something creators always talk about. And then, I just had to take a step back and sort of reevaluate what I was going to do. And at that stage, I decided I wasn't going to stream anymore. And because I'd only been streaming Truly Bedrock, essentially, although I'm still with the Truly Bedrock guys, we still talk all the time, I'm not active on the server at the moment because my channel's not responding to it. And as much as I love it, I can't. Now this is my full-time job. I can't invest time into something that essentially doesn't help pay the bills, which is a horrible way to look at things when you want to do content creation. But sometimes you need to focus a little bit more on what's working for the channel.
Yeah. It's a business decision.
Exactly, yeah, and don't get me wrong, I love playing the Create series more than anything, but I would also love to be able to have an SMP series running alongside that people were actually watching.
Yeah.
So that I could have that comradeship again, that camaraderie, and to be honest, just the fun and the laughs. That's the biggest thing I miss, is just hanging out with everyone on an SMP, and yeah,
Yeah, and
it's just one
then
of those things, really.
yeah, and with the hardcore, I'm just looking at your channel right now. I see your #1 most viewed video is the 1,000 Days hardcore movie.
It is, yes,
And
yeah. So
I
that came about in a weird way.
yeah, I remember when it came out. It's almost 3.5 hours long, but
Yeah.
it just blew up, didn't it?
Yeah, that was unexpected and kind of accidental once again, which seems to be a running theme with me. But I didn't expect that to do very well at all. The reason that video even existed was because I was, at that point, trying to release a video a week, but not holding myself accountable if I didn't release a video 1 week. I was on quite a good streak by that point, and I didn't want to not have a video, but I was also away on holiday. So I thought, well, I'm at episode 10. I've just hit 1,000 days. And I think about 2 or 3 months previous, I can't remember who it was, but I'd seen someone else had released a 1,000 days compilation video.
Yeah.
of their episodes. I think it might have been not Brock potentially, but I was seeing someone had done it, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just do that then for this week. So that's what I did. I put the video out. The first couple of weeks didn't really get much of a response as expected because most of the people that were on my channel had been watching the series anyway. That's why the majority of my subs were there at the time. So it didn't really do much. And then over the period of a couple of months, it just started to grow and grow and grow, and then it just went crazy. And yeah, as you say, it's sitting just over 2.5 million views now, or coming up on 2.5 million views, I think.
Yep.
And even to this day, I mean, that video is still getting, sort of 50, 60, 70,000 views a month, which is crazy for a video that's a year and a half old now.
Yeah. And at the time, that was a trend, and it still is. Everyone seems to be doing it now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't release 1,000-day movies every time I hit 1,000-day 1,000-day road mark. But
yeah, your top 3 are 1,000-day movies.
They are, yeah. I think it's the hardcore one, and then the create one, which is actually a lot more recent. That one has grown a lot quicker, got the views a lot quicker than the hardcore one did.
Yeah.
And I think it's
Skyblock.
like FTB Skies one, which was that came out of left field, but that one did so well. Yeah, that was a strange mini series. That was just because I fancied playing a little bit of modded, but kind of led to where we are now. So
yeah,
strange one.
It is. Like for my channel, everything that does well is tutorials, and so my channel is built mostly around tutorials. Although I'm trying to get back into the Let's Play style, and it's tough when your audience is focused on the tutorials. So I don't get a lot of views with my Let's Plays, but it gets most of the views when YouTube pushes it out to more people. And I've occasionally had some that reach several thousand views. I have one that's, I think, around 12,000 views, but it's like a Pixel Riffs style video. And it's like a
playthrough
tutorial Let's Play. Yeah. And that seemed to do well. But I found that the amount of editing required for that was a lot. A very, very time-consuming video to create. And I just found myself burning out. And that's one of the dangers of having a series where you have to put in so much time, and sometimes you get very little in return. And
yeah, for sure. I think that's the curse of being a YouTuber, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, for me personally, it's my videos that underperform are generally the ones that I'm most proud of.
Yeah.
So, for example, I've got like a one-off video that was kind of it was before the whole movie trend thing, but it was a sort of a cinematic 10-minute episode about my sort of 1 month on a hardcore server. And I was so pleased with how that video came out. It had sort of lots of use of replay mod, all these cinematic shots. I was really pleased with the music, the storytelling. I was so proud of it. And to this day, I think it's still my favorite video. And I don't even know if it's hit 1,000 views yet.
Yeah.
and it's just that video took me 3 weeks, and yeah, but it's always the way, the videos that you do that's just you pour your heart and soul into. If it's not the thing that your audience is there for, they're not going to click it and they're not going to watch it. So you've then got to try and hook in a new audience with that thumb and that title, and well, that's one of the hardest things in the world to do when you're a YouTuber is to get that hook and to get those clicks and to make something that when people see it, they're going to want to click it. And not only that, when they're there, they're instantly going to get hooked and they're going to watch it. And that's a formula that is very, very difficult to crack. And then just when you think you've cracked it, or at least cracked a little bit of it, you get another curveball from the YouTube algorithm. So it's a constant battle that I think we can all relate to. All creators can relate to.
Definitely. It's not easy. Now, you mentioned doing music and planning of videos. Do you plan or script a lot, or do you just jump right in and just do it?
Oh, planning. I wish I planned more. No, I'm very much a sort of sit down on a Monday morning. I'm sitting there about 9 o'clock with my cup of tea, and I'm like, right, I need to get an episode out for Wednesday. Sort of with my current schedule, that's what I aim for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll log into the world, and I'll stand there. I'll look around while I'm drinking my tea, and that's usually when I'm doing my planning. And then 15 minutes later, I hit record and go for it. The only time anything gets scripted is once I've recorded a video, I will record the intro, which I'll quickly write down what I'm going to say for that, which is usually a last episode we did this, next episode this episode we do this, because that's, I found, helps hook in a bit more of the new audience, because they don't feel like they're thrown out of context straight away. You're kind of giving them a bit of context about your world, gives you a chance to show off a few of your builds at the start in that first sort of 5-10 seconds, which is the bit that autoplays when people are scrolling on a phone. So it's important to get those high impact shots in. So that's why I do that. So that bit's always scripted. And occasionally when I'm doing a time lapse, if I can't find a song that I want to use for a time lapse that fits in with the stuff I've got going on before and after, I'll put on some quieter music, and then I'll explain what I'm doing in the time lapse instead. So it's more of a montage. I'll be like, I did this, and those bits obviously I write before I record. I've already done the work and done most of the edit by that point, but I'll go back and be like, actually, this time lapse I want to do a talk over instead. So yeah, and I write down what I say before that. But other than that, I just wing it and hope for the best, really. But I think because I edit as I go along, that really helps with my process. I can't sit there and record like all day and then next day sit there and edit that episode. I have to break up my day. So generally what I'll do is I'll record for maybe, essentially I'll record what I feel like is about a chapter. So I break the video up into chapters in my head, and I'm like, if I'm going to be building a factory this episode, I need to prepare the land, so that's one section. I need to do the actual building and discuss the building and just get the shell in, that's another sort of chapter. And then I have the bit where I'm maybe building the farm inside, and then I have the bit where I'm detailing. So that's a very basic structure, but say for example they're the 4 sections that I'm doing, I will edit a section before I move on to the next one, so that I can gauge the flow of the video, the pace of the video. Was that farm building section too long? Maybe it was. Let's go off and do something fun and exciting, like go exploring and get eaten by a crocodile and then come back. And it helps to break up the video. Obviously, I don't intend to get eaten by a crocodile, but generally when I leave the safe zone of my base, I do die. So it's kind of a common theme, really. So
I have noticed
as I go along, I do find it helps with the pacing. It helps me do that way. So I think if I was to plan like an entire video too much, then I don't know. I don't know how I would then go about editing that.
Yeah.
Because my style is that it's freeform.
Yeah, I have noticed, at least with speaking with others, some people will edit everything at the end, and there are others who will edit as they go along. And it almost seems to be half and half.
Yeah, very much so. I've spoken to a few people who edit at the end, and others I've managed to convert to editing as they go along, and they feel like it takes them longer to actually do the edit. But then when they see how much time they've actually spent recording and editing, it's usually actually the same, if not less amount of time, because you don't have to think, oh, I remember this happened. Where about in my edit did that happen? Where about in my recording did that happen? If you're editing like what you just recorded half an hour earlier, you've got much better idea of where stuff is and what you need to put in, and it speeds up the editing process, at least for me personally.
Yeah, for one of my Let's Play series, my survival, it's really more a building series than anything, but I record everything, but there are clips that I need to put in the middle of the video as well. So I've got these, it's a story-based building series, and I have these books that are in pretty much every building, and I read something of it while I'm slowly panning across the scene, which is appropriate to what's being said. And I always record those bits last. And if I have to edit as I'm going, I'm finding that I'm not really able to place those bits where I need to put them because they haven't been recorded yet. And so it's kind of I don't know how to say it. It's a bit of a balance.
Yeah, I think like because of that style of video though, it's different. Like you would be able to edit as you go along certain sections potentially,
Mm-hmm.
but then you just have to leave a blank space for where you think you want to have one of these talk over bits, and then you'd carry on with the edit. But it's not going to work for every video. You know, for a
Yeah.
video like that that is telling this story, reading from these books and so on, you need to have more structure. So having all the content available to you so you can then piece it together does kind of make sense in that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it very much depends on the type of content you're making. But because I exclusively make Let's Plays, for me that's just how it works. You know, I edit as I go. It takes me a couple of days to record and edit an episode, and I pace myself appropriately essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So about how many hours do you think goes into recording and editing?
Well, I'm pretty good at because I now no longer work full time. I have a separate full time job. This is my full time job now. I try to pretty much just work full time hours. So I generally start 8 or 9 in the morning, and I'm never recording or editing or anything after 5 or 6 in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're talking 2 days. So on a Monday and a Tuesday, I'll get the video ready for Wednesday. Occasionally, I might need to do a couple of bits on the Wednesday morning, but so yeah, you're probably looking at about sort of 15 to 20 hours per video,
Mm-hmm.
on average.
Right. Not bad.
But then once again, it does depend on the content, because with the new Astral series, for example, with Foxy, this is one that I don't edit as I go along, and you can tell when you look at the pace of an Astral episode compared to a pace of my main series. They're very, very different entities.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference for me between editing as I go along and editing at the end. Because me and Foxy, we record on a Wednesday from like 9 till 4 on a Wednesday. That's what we do. We set a goal, and we usually miss because that pack is really difficult. But we set a goal, we try and achieve that goal. But we know that at the end we've got at least an episode's worth of content. What generally happens is, because we're collabing for 6-7 hours, we've actually got 3 or 4 episodes worth of content that we then need to compress down into an episode.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole thing becomes a bit like a sketch show, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm having a lot of fun with it. The audience that are watching it seem to be really enjoying it as well. So, but yeah, it's essentially it's a way for me and Foxy to blow off steam and still have some kind of interaction with other humans while we're focusing on our main series.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but that one I edit at the end, and it's a whole different ball game. It takes me all day to do.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much content to filter through. So, and there's stuff that, because we're both obviously recording essentially the same things, we do our own stuff as well, but I always watch Foxy's edits as well, because there'll be bits in there that I forgot even happened, because I'll be recording an episode or editing an episode, I'll get to 15 minutes of the edit, and I'm like, I'm not even like 10% of the way through the footage yet, and I've already got 15 minutes. So I'll just skip whole sections of footage as long as nothing major happened. So all the banter kind of gets thrown out the window. And then Foxy's doing a similar thing, but he lands on a different point. So you end up getting 2 completely different sides of the same story. And there's things in Foxy's videos that aren't in mine, and I forgot even happened, and vice versa, because we've just got so much content to sift through. You have to kind of just guess half the time, because I can't sit there and watch 7 hours of content again and then edit it. I don't have the time for that. So yeah, so what you end up is this loose story, but it's mainly just a sketch show of 2 idiots who can't play this pack properly. But it's fun. So
Yeah. It's it makes me think about my own create mod videos, because I'm going through this and I have no clue what I'm doing. And like, I'm using your Perfect World mod pack. And
you don't want to do that. Oh dear.
it's a lot of fun, though.
If you don't know Create, I would highly recommend FTB Skies for learning Create, because although my pack's fun, it doesn't give you much guidance in how to actually play Create or how to use it. Obviously, you've got the built-in stuff like the ponder abilities and so on.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I actually played FTB Skies. That mini series was purely because I was like, I think I want to do a main series on Create, but I don't know how to play it. It just looks cool.
Hmm.
So I chose a Skyblock pack that had Create as one of the mods in it, and I pretty much tried to ignore everything in that pack that wasn't Create and just use that to learn because it was a lot more sort of scripted progression.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, and it was from there that I then went on and created the actual Create main series that I do now.
Well, part of the fun is actually learning how to use it, and it's interesting because actually a lot of the stuff that I use isn't even Create, and I'm really enjoying using. Let's see, I've got glass sliding doors in the house that I built. I like that, uh, and of course the storage system. I love that storage system.
Oh, storage drawers. I love them. I mean, I know there's other storage systems out there that are much more powerful in the modded world. But that one, for me, strikes a nice balance of improving the inventory system in Minecraft
Hmm.
without taking it too far from vanilla. Like it's not too overpowered. It's got the right balance in my opinion. Assuming you're still talking about storage drawers.
Yep.
Uh, the backpacks also amazing. Maybe a little bit overpowered, but I do love those backpacks.
Oh, it's fine. I don't mind if they're overpowered.
Well, they're only overpowered if you put all the upgrades on, like I did. So, but yeah, it's one of those things. Being able to essentially carry around what would normally be an entire storage room in Minecraft just on your back.
Hmm.
Um, as a builder, especially one that's added countless block variants to this pack, um, having that backpack is needed. In fact, I carry two around with me, and even then, I still run out of space
Hmm.
because there's so many block variants. But as a builder, having a backpack and having that on me is just a great tool to be able to, yeah, get building done a bit quicker without constantly spending my time looking in shulker boxes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, it's been a challenge, but it's been fun doing it. And like I haven't done a video since December on it, so I'm only 3 videos in, but I'm going to be getting right back to it this coming week. Uh, but it's the whole part about building with frame blocks and chipped mod and things like that. It makes it much more interesting and easier to build exactly what you want to build. It looks better.
Yes, yeah, it's one of those things where I was very much on the fence. Not about the block variants. I think that that's fine, but I was very much on the fence about framed blocks
Mm-hmm.
and how much I was going to use them. Because half the reason I love Minecraft is the fact that you do have these barriers, these walls that essentially are well, each block in Minecraft is essentially a meter squared, right?
Yeah.
So if that's a meter cubed, so if that's what you're trying to build something out of, you have to think outside the box in vanilla Minecraft to try and get the shapes that you want. And quite often that involves if you scale a building up 50% to what's realistic, then you've got a lot more room for detail, a lot more wiggle room. How can I utilize this grindstone, which is what it's designed to be? How can I utilize this and turn it into a part of my build where it looks like and resembles something else?
Mm-hmm.
You have to really put thought into how am I going to get that arch with square blocks. Framed blocks makes that easier because
Yeah.
it gives you sort of various different slopes and things like that. So if you want to put an arch on a doorway, there's 3 or 4 blocks you can put down that are all different, but they give you an almost perfect archway. Obviously, it's still straight lines and angles, but it does give you a little bit more freedom. And I knew that in this world, the one that I'm playing at the moment, the Create series, I wanted to try and make things look a little bit more to scale yet also realistic,
Mm-hmm.
and framed blocks was the solution for that. Initially I put them in purely because I wanted to have dirt slabs. That's literally, I put them in because I wanted dirt slabs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I told myself, I was like, I'm not going to use frame blocks too much, mainly maybe only every now and then. And at the start of the series I don't use them that often, but now I can't not use them. I always have to have a few stacks of logs on me just in case I want to stick down something with some frame blocks somewhere, which I
Mm-hmm.
probably will at some point. But yeah, they're a great tool, and they've just opened up Minecraft even more for me as a creative outlet, which is essentially what it started off as, and is still what it is for me today.
Well, you've used a lot of frame blocks on trains.
Yes, yes, the trains was. I think that's where I proper started using them quite heavily.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to get the right shape for a train. You know, you've got 3 blocks of width and about sort of 10 to 15 blocks of length for a train engine that's not massively oversized.
Mm-hmm.
And I did initially try to do that with just normal Minecraft blocks, and it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
So I started integrating more of the framed blocks into that, and I think in the end I settled pretty much. I managed to strip it back again. I do use a lot of the framed slabs and trapdoors, but actual weird shaped framed blocks, I think it's only the 2 blocks on the front now on most of my trains that are actually non-Minecraft shaped blocks. The majority of it else was just to get textured blocks or shapes of blocks that already exist in the game but aren't available as trapdoors or stairs or slabs. So yeah, it's very good for that.
Yeah, and there are a few people that are now making videos with your mod pack. I know I've been watching Throlash quite a bit.
Oh, I love that man. Yes,
Yeah.
his series is hilarious. I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mod pack. I wasn't even going to release it originally. It was just for me to play on. I didn't even think people would be that interested in the series. But obviously, I was very wrong with that. You know, that series is essentially what's blown up my channel.
Yeah.
And people were asking for the mod pack, and I was like, I don't even know how to release a mod pack. So I did a little bit of research. A couple of weeks later, stuck it up on CurseForge, thinking that, you know, a few of the people that are watching the video might want to download and play it. And I think it's at like 450,000 downloads now.
Wow.
For that mod pack.
That's a lot.
Which is insane. To think
Yeah.
there's that many people that wanted to play it. It's like, I'm sorry, you what? I don't even know what I'm doing. And like people send me these bug reports and they're like, oh, this is broken because of this. And I'm like, sure it is. I have no idea, but I don't know. Works for me. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a mod developer. You know, it's these aren't my mods. These are the amazing people in the community that put their time into creating these mods. That I've just cobbled a few of them together to make a world that I wanted to play in, and apparently 450,000 other people do as well.
Yep.
Which is madness.
It is. It's just really interesting how you can do something that you think will not be popular, and it just blows up. It's all accidental, really.
Well, with Create, it was something I really wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do a different series. Hardcore was starting to get a bit stale for me. The view numbers were going down quite a lot by this point, so I knew I needed something new, and yeah, so I watched a few Create videos, and then I played the FTV Skies series. All the while I was trying to construct this mod pack, which, as I say, I didn't know what I was doing, and there's loads of compatibility issues and things I didn't consider, and to be honest, still don't really understand. But it took like 2 or 3 weeks just to get the game to launch with the mods that I wanted.
Right.
With the mods that I wanted in there. That's when I discovered that Forge and Fabric were different things, by the way. That's how new I am to this whole mod thing.
Okay.
I was a vanilla boy, so yeah, it was very confusing for me to actually try and get that going and get it working. And around the same time, I discovered another YouTuber called Stamo, Stam10, and he was essentially doing a similar kind of thing, in that he had a vanilla world with Create on it, and that was it. Just vanilla with Create, and he called his video, I think it was I started the world I always wanted, and I was like, that title is amazing, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do here.
Everyone's copying it.
Yeah, it's gone everywhere now. Yeah, but and people think I was the first, but I wasn't. Stamo was the first. Stam was the first. We are good friends now. But yeah, so Stam was the first, and I saw what he was doing. And essentially, it was vanilla with Create, and I was like, well, at this stage, I was looking at my mod pack, and I was like, well, I think I'm up to about 67 mods by this point, but a lot of them are just support mods for the main things that I wanted in there. And I was like, I need to use that video title name, so I did. Credited him in the description for it, and I think the next day, maybe the day after that, I got a message from Stamo because he's like, people keep telling me I stole your video title, and I was like, no, which is like, his video had been out for like 5-6 weeks longer than mine.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I tried to make it very clear that that it wasn't my video title, and then I got invited to this Discord where basically all the create YouTubers essentially hang out. Um, and I got invited to the Discord, and Stan was in there, and a few of the others were in there that had all used this title as well. They
Mm-hmm.
had all launched series since, and we sort of became the title club, in that we had all used a create series with that title basically. My first episode of that just blew up. I think it's like over 400,000 views or something.
Yeah.
And that's what I was like. Okay, yeah, I need to carry on with this series. And to be honest with you, it's a combination. It was a combination of needing something fresh and new, and stumbling across Stamo's video and that title at the same time just kind of made it click.
Yeah.
And falling in love with Create throughout that period while playing FTB Skies as well, and really enjoying that mini series, which was doing about the same views as my main hardcore series, which was a surprise to me because usually your second series, the one that you don't do quite as often, doesn't get as many views, doesn't have as much audience investment, but people seem to be just as invested in that as my hardcore. So I thought, oh, maybe this Create series will have legs, and well, yeah, here we are.
Yeah. And well, of course, you said his name is Stamo.
Yes, Stamo. Yes,
Yeah.
Stam10. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's with people going to his comments and saying that he stole your idea or stole the title. Like, do some people come to your comments and say anything like that?
Oh yeah, yeah. But I get that all the time. Things like, oh, so and so's copying you, or you're copying so and so. Usually Foxy. Actually, it's we've had a lot of banter about it between our series. We've even been in each other's episodes
Yeah.
talking about how everyone says we're always copying each other, and it's not intentional. Like, it's not something we're intentionally doing. It's just we're playing the same game with similar mods, and we need the same resources that have the same route to get to said resources. You're going to build the same kind of factories, or machines, or whatever. So
Obviously.
we lean into it more than anything. But yeah, I mean, you always get people coming in and saying, "Oh, you're just copying so and so," and you're like, "I've never even heard of this person." Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's yeah, it's a strange one. Like, if ever I do get inspired by someone or anything, I always, I will credit them. I'll say, this farm is so and so's, or I mean, even when it comes to building farms, if I'm building a farm that's someone else's tutorial, I don't do a step by step of me building the
Yeah.
farm. I don't need to. I'll just do a time lapse, or I'll be like, I'm going to build this farm. If you want to see how it's done, go and check out this guy's video or this person's video. This is who has made the farm. If you want to know how it's done, go watch them. Like, but this is the finished farm, and now I'm going to make it look nice. And that, I much prefer that approach.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think inevitably, with so many content creators on the platform, people are going to end up making similar videos quite often about at similar times as well.
Of course.
Often because they're influenced by what's in the news, whether it be consciously or subconsciously. If certain subjects become big and people might have the same idea at the same time. So yeah, it just happens really. I don't think anyone's probably some people are malicious, but I don't think anyone sort of within our circles is maliciously copying each other or anything like that. And if that kind of thing happens, as I say, most of us are in the same Discord together with the Create people, so
Mm-hmm.
we laugh about how coincidental things are sometimes, and yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah, I remember when I was still doing my Bedrock Let's Play, I was trying to find a spider farm, or just trying to look for a tutorial. But I had cave spiders, so it's very different. They're smaller and they can get through smaller cracks. And so I found a tutorial by Waddles. And I had to make sure it was a Bedrock tutorial. The Java tutorial wouldn't work. But I found that even his tutorial wasn't working. And I realized why. And that is water mechanics had changed since he made that tutorial. It just was not operating correctly, so I had to make some modifications myself. And I gave full credit to Waddles. And then Waddles replied to me on Twitter and said, "I like your thumbnail." That's the only thing he said. But of course I gave him full credit, because he was the
Yeah,
one who designed it.
it's just common courtesy, isn't it?
Yeah.
no one, or very rarely, do you ever find anyone who does anything completely 100% original that no one else has ever done before.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. You know, we're all influenced by the things around us day by day, the things we watch, the things we do, the things we hear, and yeah, sometimes people are going to make the same or similar things, or come up with similar ideas at the same time, or as you know, in your case, make improvements on something. And I think that's great. You know, I think anyone that can watch something, get inspired by it, and then go off and do their take on a similar thing or the same thing, I think that's fantastic. You know, you've given that person a spark. You've ignited something in them that makes them want to go out and create something.
Yeah.
How can that be a bad thing? I mean, if they're copying you block for your build and then claiming it as their own, that's completely different. But if someone just happens to do something similar to you because they've been inspired by you, that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing.
Oh yeah. Like I think just I get inspired by a lot of people, and I actually sent out a tweet earlier this week, just naming a few people who inspired me, and I think you were on the list.
I did make the list. Thank you, Jay.
Yes, and it's just that from time to time I get different inspirations. Like early on, my inspirations were Fwip, Mythical Sausage, and Python. And while I still find them inspirational, actually, it still included Python in the list. But this had a lot to do with the fact that it seems that recently the editing style is getting to be the more relaxed, older style that people used to like. Like
yes,
the Mr.
I'm so happy about it.
I am too.
It's amazing. I
It's
feel like I'm having more fun editing now.
yes, yeah, because that's part of the reason why a lot of my well, I think I mentioned it before, but a lot of my videos were taking so long was because I was focused so much on making these tight edits that like have very short clips, and I had to make sure the music is just right and the sound effects are just right. And when I watch people like actually, I'm not sure if you've watched any of It's Marlowe's recent videos, but he's doing the relaxed style very, very, very well, I'd say, except he includes replay mod.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I haven't actually seen any of those myself, but I think it's one of those things where over the last couple of years, the Minecraft YouTube video scene kind of went a bit crazy for mega builds.
Yes.
It was who can build the biggest, the best, the most outrageous thing in Minecraft, in a hardcore world. Make sure it's in a hardcore world.
Yep. And spend 200
and
hours doing it for one video.
yeah, exactly. And you know, release one video a month, but it's, you know, it's the equivalent of an entire series for what you'd normally watch. And
Yep.
it's like, okay, it's fantastic that you built that. I love that you built that. How did you build that? I want to know. I want to see the process. I want to go through the ups and downs with you. I want to know the story.
Yeah.
Yes, I love the end result, but tell me the story of how you got there. And it's one of those things where I think personally I got caught up a bit in the fast editing style at the start of my hardcore series. I think if you watch the first few episodes of my hardcore series, I was always trying to keep my episodes to 15 minutes long. You know, I gave myself very sort of strict rules with the editing with that as well. And you know, it was fun. And don't get me wrong, it did kind of work at the time. It did help grow my channel from sort of, you know, 5,000 or 6,000 up to about 30,000 subs over a few months.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, is that the editing style, or is it the fact that they're only 15-minute videos? So my retention rate is like a higher percentage of the video. Like the length of time is still the same. They're still watching for about 10 minutes, but now it's like 65, 70% instead of 50%.
Yeah.
You know, like what is it that's helping these videos? And I spent a lot of time sort of, you know, analyzing it and so on. And then I realized I don't like doing that. I like playing Minecraft and making videos. So I sort of backtracked a bit with this Create series. And the whole point with this series was to take things slower, you know, include more of the build process. You know, the videos themselves are sort of 25, 30 minutes long, and I'm probably doing half the amount of work I was doing in a hardcore episode. So for me as a creator, I feel like I'm sharing more, I'm showing more of me not just here's something I've done, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think people are engaging with that better. There's a general slowdown on YouTube. Everyone got fed up with the fast-paced, massive
mhm.
videos. I mean, just look at the start of season 10 of Hermitcraft. Perfect example.
Yeah.
I I I can't name a single epic build per se that someone has really done, because the builds haven't really been the focus of the episodes.
Mhm.
It's been the laid back interactions. It's just people hanging out, being people, playing Minecraft with their mates, and that's really nice to see.
It is.
And with an SMP as big as Hermitcraft and the influence they have, that's going to trickle down into other creators and what other people are doing, whether they do it consciously or not. Everyone else is going to start doing that again as well.
Yep.
And I can't wait to see how the scene looks a year from now.
Yeah, I one person who's been maintaining that style of video all along is Python. And like he just never went into the highly edited, fast-paced videos. He always makes something small in every video. And like that's what I like to do. That's what I like to watch. What you're able to do is get into the build itself as well as the person. You get to know the world more intimately, and you get to know the person who's building it as well. It just feels so much more comfortable watching.
Yeah, well, you get to know the why, not the what.
Yeah,
as well, if that makes sense.
exactly.
You get to know the why and the who, not just the this is what I did. But yeah, it's been pretty crazy. Like since the first episode of my Create series, I've been getting a lot of people saying, "Oh, you remind me of the old school Minecrafters, like the Yogscast and Dan TDM back in the day, and all those sorts of things." And I was like, "That's a huge compliment." Like,
Yeah,
I
it
never
is.
watched these guys back in the day. Like, I didn't watch their Minecraft content or things like that. Not back in the day. Don't get me wrong. I've gone back and watched since.
Hmm.
Once again, you leave YouTube running, it's going to play some stuff. And you land on these older style of series, and I get so invested in them. It's like I think it was Pixel Riffs' second season, I think it was, or third season on Decidedly Vanilla.
Hmm.
Is one of my favorite series ever. It's just a bunch of guys hanging out and having fun.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You don't necessarily achieve much in an episode, but to sit down and watch it, you get so engrossed in it. Whereas you watch sort of a later video by sort of say one of the Hermits season 8, season 9. They got sucked up in the trend just as much as everyone else did of doing these epic and these mega builds.
Hmm.
But you find it a lot harder to relate because they're essentially. I mean, I was doing the same thing on Truly Bedrock at the time, and you kind of put yourself in a bubble. So you're thinking about what you're going to build, and then you're building it, and then someone else logs in onto the server, and you wave hello because they've logged in, but you're in the middle of your build, and you need to get that build finished because you need to get that video done.
Yeah.
And you kind of end up not hanging out and interacting with people, and that's not what an SMP is supposed to be about. And I think that's why potentially. I don't know if you've noticed, but SMPs in general, until the last couple of months, they're picking up again. But the last year, 2 years, SMPs have been really struggling. SMP content in general.
Yes.
And I think it's because even in SMPs, the majority of creators, whether intentionally or not, myself included in this, were treating it more like a solo world that had occasional interactions. Because we're all focused on trying to create these really big builds so we get a nice fancy thumbnail. And we were all doing it. We all got sucked into it, and I don't know. It's refreshing, I think, to see it going back to how it was when I first discovered the Minecraft scene, which was only 4 years ago. But even then, it was a much nicer pace of video.
It was,
I
yeah.
think. But then, during COVID, after COVID, and so on, about 2 years, 2 years or so, it was just I built the universe in Minecraft, and it's like, well, how am I supposed to compete with that? Got a full-time job.
I know. But yeah, I'm just glad it's going back to that slower pace. It's
100%.
it's less work, but it's just nicer.
It's more enjoyable. It's more enjoyable to play, to edit, to watch, and I've got my evenings back, so
Yeah.
it's lovely.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think for me, when my burnout started, I was building this massive base in Adults Play Minecraft Season 2, and it was too big. And as a result, I never finished it. Season 3 came, and I decided to go smaller scale. But by that time, I was just burned out, and I couldn't really do much of anything. And so I spent probably about a year and a half of not doing much building, and my Let's Play videos came out very slowly. So that's when I focused on the tutorials very heavily, because I could get those out. But
Yeah.
I really miss being able to do like 2 or 3 Let's Plays a week. And I want to get back to that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm much preferring the slower pace from a creation point of view.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like I'm giving the audience more. I haven't really streamed in the last year or so. After my burnout, I sort of a couple of years ago, I always struggled to kind of get back into streaming, and I made the decision then just to, for now, just can it and just focus on YouTube. But then what you miss is you miss that connection with the audience. So
Yes.
I've noticed, because I've also at the same time I've slowed my videos down again. I feel like I'm getting that connection again, because I am stopping to talk to the audience. You know, I'm asking their opinions. You know, what works better. You know, help me name things and so on. So the kind of things that you do on stream at a slower pace like this, you're able to do that in a video, because I can ask. You know, I'm releasing 2 videos a week, and I can ask something in an episode that goes out on Wednesday, and I can get the response and integrate that into the episode in Sunday's episode, because I know I haven't got to spend 3 weeks building a universe. So you know, you get that back and forth with the audience as well, which is something that personally I was kind of lost when you're doing these big projects and these big builds, because you're always trying to get ahead.
Yeah.
By the time the episode goes out where you ask someone something, you've already recorded, you know, the next episode or the next 2 episodes, because you're trying to get this big project done. And yeah, the slower pace definitely helps with that as well, with the audience connection and the community connection.
Yeah, so going into the depths of YouTube, like a lot of people who don't make videos seem to think that it's just easy. Hit record and upload it, and you're done. No, it's not. But for you, like, to make things more efficient or easier for yourself, what do you do?
Um, I, I'm a lot less hard on myself than I used to be in terms of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I went for a phase before my burnout, actually, where I committed to releasing a video every 4 days. Like, so it wasn't set days of the week, but it was every 4 days.
Right.
And that's when I was working full time. I was doing 3 streams a week and so on. So doing that put a lot of pressure on me. And then after I burnt out, I relieved that pressure by saying, I'm going to post a video when it's good and ready, as opposed to making sure I hit a video on schedule. If a video needs another day because it's not good enough, or it needs a bit more work or whatever, I'm like, I don't beat myself up about it. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll just put that out on Thursday instead of Wednesday. Or I'll skip Wednesday's video because I want to make sure this video is really good, and then I'll just move it to the next Sunday slot. And I think it's important to, yes, kind of have consistency, but consistency doesn't mean the same day every week, the same time every week. Consistency means sticking to what you're doing. You know, if you're gonna do a series, essentially, then commit to doing that series, like wholeheartedly. And if those videos are once a week or once every 2 weeks or whatever, it doesn't matter. But if you're consistently releasing one every 2 weeks or every week, then that's different to releasing 3 or 4 episodes, not doing anything for a month, releasing 3 or 4 episodes, and not doing anything for a month.
Yeah.
People aren't going to get engaged or invested in that series.
True.
So when YouTubers talk about consistency, they don't mean always upload at the same day every week, the same time every week. It's be consistent with what your focus is, essentially. And yeah, it's important not to leave massive gaps in between videos, because people are gonna forget. People are very forgetful. So consistency to me is sticking with what I'm doing, and if I say I'm going to have a video out on a certain day and it's not going to be ready, I'll just send out a message to the community saying, yeah, no video this week, sorry about that, I want to make sure it's good, you'll see it on Sunday. And the community understands that.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to see a good video, not just a video.
Yes.
If your video's not good, they're not going to come back for the one after. So, yeah, I think it's important to hold yourself accountable, but don't be hard on yourself, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that's probably like my main thing. That's what I do to make it easier for myself is don't beat myself up if I need a couple more days on the video. Doesn't
Hmm.
matter. As long as the video's good, it's fine.
Yeah.
That and edit as I go along. That's the other thing I do to make it easy.
Hmm. I think there are a lot of people who are making videos who feel like they need to have things out same day every week, and there's a time crunch, and they're rushing
Yes.
things, and it really affects the quality of the videos.
Yeah, and I mean I'm guilty of that. I've done that
Me
before as
too.
well. Like if I've got a video that's so close to being done, and if I can just push for another couple of hours, I can actually get this done and make the deadline. Then I do still do that sometimes. And then almost every time I regret it afterwards. I'm like, I should have just taken the extra day, and I could have made that ending so much better. Or I could have actually done the back of that building. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like if I'd actually just put in a little bit more effort and just not beat myself, and I still do it every now and then. It's for me. It's if I'm very close to getting one done, I'll push myself to get it finished. I'll put in a bit of extra time to get it done. But if I'm halfway through a video that's supposed to be out the next day, then I'll be like, okay, cool. I'll just push it till Sunday. There won't be a video today. It's fine. Doesn't matter. Like the
Yeah.
audience wants to see a good video and good progress. They don't want to see a shoddy piece of rubbish.
Yeah. Like I had a strange moment just this week. I was finishing my last Let's Play video, and I realized I'm done. I was thinking I have a lot more to do. I still have more to record and build, and I got to the moment where I finished building this really simple composter, like automated composter thing, and I just realized, wait a minute, I'm done. Oh, I can edit now. I it just surprised me. That's never really happened to me before. Because
Yes.
I was going along enjoying the process, because I wasn't giving myself a target date to get this out. Just do it, and I before I knew it, I was done.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, if you can relieve that pressure from yourself, then ultimately you're gonna be having more fun in the video.
Yeah.
If you're stressing about a time crunch while you're trying to record, then that stress is going to come through on the video.
Yep.
Whether it's just in the tone of your voice or how fast you're speaking or something like that, it's going to be different to when you're not stressed.
Hmm.
And you're not going to enjoy it as much. The audience can pick up on that, and they don't enjoy it as much. So, nobody wins from doing that,
Yeah.
basically. Well, I've had that before though, where I've sort of, as I say, generally on a Monday morning, I start recording the episode that's going to go out on the Wednesday. And most of the time I can get sort of, 20, 25 minutes like recorded and edited on the Monday. And then the Tuesday I will finish the rest of the build and the video, put the rest of the edit together, and then I'll chop it down and edit it a bit nicer. But sometimes when you get to I get to the end of a Monday and I'm ready to record my outro first thing Tuesday morning, and I'm just like, how have I even done that?
Hmm.
But you just get in the zone sometimes, and it happens with me. Like I can sit at my desk for 10 hours straight without even realizing it. So I wave my wife off to work in the morning, and then 6 o'clock comes around, she walks in the door, and I'm like, oh, I didn't have lunch. But I have done an entire episode in a
Yeah.
day, which is weird because that normally takes me 2 days. So yeah, sometimes you just get into the flow. Really, you get into the zone, and I think a lot of that comes down to what project you're working on at the time
Yeah.
and whether I've had a good night's sleep. So
Yeah. It's just nice to be able to do something like that. You complete it much more, not necessarily quickly, but it leaves you feeling good about what you do.
yeah, it's like, oh, I was really efficient with that episode. Fantastic. It's like, how did I get all that done in one day? It's like brilliant. And then you're like, okay, cool. I can just chill out for the Tuesday afternoon, And then on Thursday, I'll start recording for Sunday's episode. And by the end of Play Friday, I've got 5 minutes edited and nothing else recorded. I'm like, what's happened? What happened? It started off so well at the start of the week, and it's just because it's a different project, and I've had stuff going on in real life, so my head's not in it as much, and it takes longer.
Yeah.
So yeah, just take it as it comes, really.
So,
Best advice I can give: don't stress about it. Just take it as it comes, and yeah.
yeah,
You can.
I was about to ask you, what advice would you give an aspiring YouTuber to help them make it a bit easier?
Don't stress about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's as I say. I mean, I've kind of touched on the consistency side of things already. And yeah, just be consistent with what you're doing, and you want consistent or better video quality with each video. So you know, consistency means a few different things there. It's if you're doing a specific type of series, if you want to wrap up a series, then by all means wrap up a series. Or if the series isn't performing and you don't want to do it anymore, then and you don't even want to do a closing video on it, fine, don't do a closing video on it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you release your next video, say like touch on the subject that you're not going to be finishing that series, or you've bumped it to your second channel, or you know, I wasn't enjoying it because of this. We're actually going to move on and we're going to do this because it's going to be more enjoyable for me, which means it'll be more enjoyable for you, and we're all going to have fun together. You know, you can't just ignore the fact that like, wait a minute, I was invested in that series.
Mm-hmm.
Why has he stopped making those? So you can't just ignore it when you drop a series. So don't force yourself to be consistent on a series you're not enjoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, find something you enjoy. If you're having fun, that's going to come through on the videos, and your audience is going to have fun.
Yeah.
And if you're not happy with the video, then like, I mean, you're never going to be 100% happy with the video. You've got to press that publish button. But if you think you can do something better, then delay the video and make it better. At the end of the day, the audience is going to respond better to a better video.
Mm-hmm.
So
being a perfectionist can hinder the process.
Yes, yeah, I gave up on that a long time ago, being a perfectionist, before I even started YouTube. So luckily, I don't suffer from perfectionism. So yeah, but my wife is my wife, however, is a bit of a perfectionist.
Mm-hmm.
So she will always watch my videos before they go out, and she'll give me feedback. And 9 times out of 10, I'll be like, "That's a brilliant idea." There's no chance I'm doing that. It's going to take me all day.
Yeah.
So this is what I like, being able to just be like, no, it's like it's fine. It's like I could do that, and it would take me all day. I've also got to learn how to do that before I could do that.
Right.
And you know, how much is all that extra time and effort going to add to this video when essentially it's just a transition or something like that? You know, you've got to balance it essentially. You know, don't stress yourself out about it. You know, do it as good as you can. And then try and improve on it next time.
Absolutely. So I have a comment from the last episode I'd like to read out, and this kind of applies to you because there's something that relates to you here. This is from Code Girl, who I've known for quite a while. So she said, thanks for the podcast. I love Tough 2. Used it to build a mountain once. I plan on doing more with them, plus the new copper blocks. Now, this is, of course, for 1.21. We've got those new copper blocks, which...
Yes, we do.
I love the grate. I absolutely want to use the copper grate. But she adds on, I started out watching Pixel Riffs too. Seems a few people start with Pixel Riffs.
Yeah, the man's a hero. What can I say?
Yep. It's interesting where people start. Like, I started off watching Kurt J. Mac.
I don't think I know Kurt J. Mac.
He's doing the Farlands or Bust series where he's walking to the Farlands. He's doing this still in beta. He isn't doing it, or is he? I can't even remember which version, but it's one of the very early versions of Minecraft back when Farlands existed, and he's just walking in a straight line. He's been doing it for the past 12 years, I think.
I can imagine, yeah. I mean, it's not called the Farlands for no reason.
Yeah, and that style of video that he does like 2 days worth of walking in one video, doesn't edit anything, and all he does is talk about things. Most of the time it's not even related to Minecraft. He's talking about his life and other things, and it's a really old style of video.
almost like a podcast or a just chatting
It
stream.
is, yes,
Yeah.
but he's got, I don't know how many hours of content now. But he does this all on live stream now. Although he does edit them for YouTube, because it all goes up on YouTube. But he gets his audience mostly through Twitch now. But he's still going, and he said that he will complete it.
You see, I mean, that is madness. I mean, whether he thought 12 years ago he was committing to 12 years of walking in a straight line in Minecraft, will we ever know? I don't know.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean that's exactly it. You know, he's found something that he enjoys doing. His audience are obviously relating to it, and he's just doing it and he's enjoying himself, and it's working. Like, that's what it is. Like, he's not doing a massive mega build every stream or every episode, is he? He's literally walking in a straight line.
he's not a builder at all.
Well, he hasn't got time. He's too busy walking.
Yep.
So, but that's exactly my point. You know, he's found something that he's enjoying doing, and people are relating to that.
Yep.
And that's what you've got to do. That's the key. I mean, yeah, you've got to play the algorithm a little bit here and there. You've got to make sure you get your thumbs and your titles right. But at the end of the day, you're still just throwing stuff and seeing what sticks, really. But have fun while doing it.
Yeah, so to finish things off, I'd like to ask you if you have any questions for the listeners. Something that they could ask you.
Oh, jeez.
Or I should say,
spot a bit here.
or I should ask them. Do you have any questions for Mr. Beardstone?
Yeah, do that.
Yeah,
then
yeah.
I'll answer,
That's
and
probably
then
better.
I'll answer them and then I'll answer them in the comments. Yeah, and then if I've got any questions back, I'll ask you the questions there. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that'll work.
That
Yeah,
sounds good.
I hadn't pre-prepared a question, JD. You didn't warn me. But
I usually don't.
By all means, if anyone's got any questions, I'll be more than happy to hang out in the comments and yeah, answer any questions people have got if I can.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm making it up as I go along, just like anyone else. So
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that that's what a lot of YouTubers are doing. They just make it up as they go along.
oh, 100%,
And-
And when something starts working, you just do that more.
And even so, it's still a lot of work.
Oh yeah, it is a lot of work. I mean, as I say, I essentially had 2 full-time jobs for the first 3 years I was doing this. But then I got made redundant a second time, and I decided not to get a job. And that was about a month before the Create series started. So yeah, got lucky there. There's always a pinch of luck as well.
Yes,
No
there
matter
is.
what you do, there's always a pinch of luck and timing and so on. But yeah,
You've had a lucky year.
I have. It's been a crazy
Yeah,
lucky year,
and
I couldn't be more thankful to everyone for the support and for actually watching the videos. And even now, like, I think we're 45 episodes into that main series, and people are still sticking around and watching it, which is amazing, because quite often a solo series, by the time you get to episode 20, you realise that no one's really watching anymore. So yeah, I feel blessed.
Yeah, and I think you deserve everything. It's been fun watching it. But I would like to thank you very much for being a guest. It was a great talk. I got a lot out of it myself, so I'm actually going to implement a few things that you've said.
Oh,
and yeah, I think it's like every time I speak with someone, I learn something new, and that's
the joy. That's the joy of networking and
It is.
talking and just hanging out with people as well. You know, and that's
Yep.
another thing. If you are an aspiring creator, find a group of people that are also doing the similar thing to you. You know, help each other grow.
Yep.
Play. You know, sort of, give feedback on each other's videos and thumbnails and things like that. You know, you need that support network, because
Yep.
quite often people in real life don't have a clue what you do, even when you try and explain it to them.
Mhm.
So yeah, finding like-minded people online is key. Really.
It is.
To keeping your sanity more than anything else.
Yep.
But yeah, but thanks for having me on, JD. It's been a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
It was. I have to say that every single person I've spoken with, I've had a lot of fun with with our talk, with the conversation. And
Good.
I hope a lot of people are getting something out of this. Is I want to help people improve their own. Maybe not it's Minecraft itself, but I think a lot of people are listening for, well, to learn about the person, of course, behind the YouTube channel, but also to get some advice as well. I like to have that in there.
Yeah, by all means, by all means.
But I'd like to thank you very much, and I'm definitely going to have to catch up on your Create series. I'd like to watch the one with Foxy as well. So I'm curious how that's going.
Yeah,
but
he pops up every now and then.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in my last episode just hurling insults for about 3 seconds, and that was it. So yeah, he pops up every now and then.
Yeah, insults.
Yeah. Well, actually, he was accusing me of copying his petrol station idea. Actually, so once again, it was just us playing on the whole copying each other thing.
Okay.
But I built a petrol station because it fit perfectly into the area of the city I was currently building. But
Yeah.
he had built one a couple of months ago, so we thought we'd catch that one before it got to the comments of everyone accusing everyone of copying, and we just have fun with it. So
Yep.
yeah, it's the way to go.
It is. Okay, so I'd like to thank you very much, and for everyone listening, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.
Yep, and we'll see you in the comments.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye, JD.